Good evening, everyone. It is now 7:07 in Kingston City, Jamaica. 7:07 in Washington, D.C. In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, it's 7:07. This evening, we're going to speak about should Vernam Field be developed into a military base? It's already a military base. Should be developed into a military base by the American government to help fight crime within the Caribbean. This evening, we have security expert Robert Smith, Wilfred Radigan, attorney at law. We're waiting on the fireman to come on. We don't hear from him as yet. That's Conrad O'Brien. So the question this evening we're asking, should Vernam Field be developed into a military base, in the sense of should they reopen Vernam Field as a military base by the American government to help fight crime within the Caribbean? We're going to start off with our good friend, the security expert, who said that he thinks it should be. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
Your views and everything about Vernam Field, sir?
Well, it reverted to its original purpose. Vernam Field was built and established in World War II to house American planes. Matter of fact, Vernam Field have bunkers under it. They used to use it to store the fuel for the planes and all other manner of things. It still exists, it's there. Matter of fact, it's my opinion that it's an open secret that in the past, and maybe the present, people with interesting pursuits have utilized it, because if you have the bunkers, you can keep what you want to send under lock and key, so to speak, until it's time for the plane to come for it. It is also a very, very thick surface because of the type of planes, bombers and stuff used to be stored there. I don't know what the lease has said since those days or what the current administration of it is, but bear in mind, Mike Henry has tried for years to turn it into a transport hub where you could put goods and things to be carried in and out of the island. At one stage, they had wanted to make the national airport move from Palisados to Vernam Field.
You mean the Norman Man International Airport?
Yes, because there was a discussion once about the quality of the surface and whether or not, you must remember, historically, that piece of land, for instance, you know why they call it the Palisados?
No.
It was a series of little islands called Palisades that went out to Port Royal, mangrove. The first person to drive a car from Harbour Head to Port Royal was my now deceased former father-in-law, Lenny Fisher, who drove a Model T Ford, whilst they put planks between the Palisades to allow him to drive from one to the other. That is also a reason why Kingston Harbour was pristine in terms of its color and beauty, because the open seaside used to wash in through the Palisades, go down past Gunboat Beach that you know, and come out down by Port Royal. So it was constantly being flushed. The minute they dumped up that thing and made one solid peninsula, that natural progress no longer occurred.
Okay. So hold on a while for me. Let me ask you this before we go to Wilfred Rattigan. Why do you think, as a security expert, a security analyst rather, same thing, why do you think that the government of Jamaica should approach the American government to use Vernam Field as an area for the Americans to help the Caribbean, to help Jamaica in fighting drugs trafficking, you know, other things, crime and so forth?
You know, it's simple. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money out there. The infrastructure sits there. Go and check the thickness of that runway. It's amazing. It's been there for years, decades. You don't have to do nothing to it. And the length of it allows any amount of planes to come and go. Years gone by, I used to race bikes out by Vernam Field, and we used it as a circuit. Because it was set up, you know, the taxiway, the landing place, you can drive around it.
Wilfred Rattigan, I don't know if you know Vernam Field, but based on what Sir Smith is saying, you as a former FBI agent and an attorney at law, and you know, have you know, what the word should I use now? In security, what do you think about Vernam Field, sir? Unmute your mic for me.
Sorry about that. Good evening to you, my brother Finsey Smith, and your listening and viewing audience. Now, I've never been there. I've heard about it. But the fact that we have a runway, the structure as described by Brother Smith, then it's a no-brainer as to why it's not being used as a vantage point to deal with the importation of drugs. I mean, they could use, they could fly their drones out of there that could easily supplement the police and the JDF, because the police, they can patrol up out to a certain, I think it's 25 miles or 50 miles out to sea. And then beyond that, then it's a JDF. They could use drones to, you know, launching from there, or they could use planes. They say they bought planes. I don't know where the planes are flying from, but if they're flying from,
Camp.
Eh?
I think they're flying from Upper Camp.
Yeah, but
or Norman Manley.
Or Norman Manley, yes.
Yeah, but if they talk, it would save fuel at least if they could establish a base right there, like Mr. Finsey Smith said. The infrastructure is there, so why not just spend some of the money, that the 1.2 billion US dollars that they're spending on Plan Secure Jamaica? Why not use some of that money and develop, or just refurbish the infrastructure there, and then use it as a vantage point to deal with the drug thing? Because then you wouldn't have to fly from Norman Manley or Up Park Camp or from, you know, Donald Sangster. You could just do it, you know, it's right there. But
do you think, Mr. Rattigan, that the Jamaican government should approach the American government and say to them, you have an old military base here. Based on the information I'm getting from Google, it is still owned by the American government. I'm yet to be corrected. Do you think they should go approach them and say, listen to me, the Caribbean is faced with a problem where cocaine is coming into the Caribbean through to America. So to help you stop the whole transmission of drugs and guns, you already have an old military base there. Why don't you just, you know, refurbish it and launch some Black Hawk helicopters from there?
Well, you would think that when the Prime Minister came here recently, that he would have had prior discussions with his Minister of National Security and his national security team, and that would be one of the items they would discuss when they came here. But I don't think that was discussed, right? And therein lies the problem: short-sightedness. And again, I emphasize that if the Jamaican government, if any Jamaican government representative, including the Prime Minister, if they're listening to your program, they should seriously consider taking this man on as a consultant, because he's a wealth of knowledge and he knows, he knows the terrain. He knows the terrain geographically, he knows it politically, He knows it as far as intelligence is concerned. He knows it as far as law enforcement. He knows it. So it would make sense for them to reach out to this man and say, listen, talk to us about ideas to move this country forward in terms of dealing with the crime problem, transnational and otherwise. So, but we haven't heard any of that. You know what's interesting too? Just to digress a little bit, the prime minister made a big to do about going to America and he's meeting with the FBI and this and that and that. Well, we know that's nonsense, because if you're going to America to meet as a prime minister and you're going to meet with mid-level managers and you're not meeting with the FBI director, then there really is no meeting. You shouldn't have gone, because you could have done that from St. Andrew, right? But what's interesting is that he made this big to do. I'm going to go there. I'm going to talk about blah, 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 blah. He came back. He used taxpayers' money to go. He came back. He didn't give the taxpayers a report. It doesn't have to be a detailed report, but it could have been a general report saying, look, I met with these people and we discussed matters of mutual concerns. And so we're going to, in the near future, we hope that, we hope to work collaboratively to address this issue. He could have made a statement to that effect. I didn't hear it. Maybe he did make it, but I didn't hear one.
I didn't hear it. And Sir Robert Frinsley Smith, have you ever suggest this to anyone stating that, why don't we approach the American government? Because Vernam Field is an old military base and it's still owned by the American government, to use as an area where we can help to fight crime within Jamaica and throughout the Caribbean.
Without detailing who I spoke to, I go a little further.
Yes.
I suggested, all right, it's one to say you have aircraft and it's like somebody saying a boat is a hole in the water in which you throw money. Having the aircraft and all the rest is grand. You now need the pilots to fly it, and you need the ability to maintain it. But there is a way around that. And Mr. Rattigan can tell you whether or not I am talking crap. Colombia showed us the way. When Colombia was becoming almost a drug kingdom, they allowed the United States to run joint operations with them. So you have United States aircraft and helicopters flying. And they are not only carrying United States personnel, but they carried Colombian strike force people. It was a military aid, so to speak. I believe we have reached the point where we need this aid. We can double up. We're in striking distance of Haiti. So rather than having to go to Haiti to try and set up a situation in the midst of that kerfuffle, and then you have to worry about how you're going to secure the base and all that, fly the people that you're going to deal in Haiti straight out of Vernam. Let them base that Vernam and them trips to and from Haiti from there, and it's that strip of water between us and Haiti and us and Colombia that requires observation. So when, like how you come in and you're going to use it as a base, put up your radar, which will help us without us having to spend any great deal of money to monitor our area. We can also use it to help the JDF Coast Guard to keep track of the fishermen who they have to go out and rescue ever so often.
Mm-hmm.
You can, if I have a piece of land that is expensive to fence, it suits me to give myself the ability to know when someone crosses onto it. So rather than trying to fence it, it's best that I put up laser points that when you cross it, it tells you somebody has come aboard.
Right.
So you can respond. You can set up this type of situation with your radar to know if somebody has come into your space, whether airspace or your sea space. I have it on fairly good authority that there have been discoveries of oil deposits between us and Cuba.
Hmm.
Pretty soon, that piece of ocean or sea will become in great need of securing if you can put an oil platform out there.
So hold on there. Before you go to that, is it that Jamaica, or is it that the Jamaican government is afraid to approach the American government, or is it that the Jamaican government has never thought about using Vernam Field, or approaching the government and saying, look here, use Vernam Field as an air base to help to fight crime? You have any idea?
I can't answer that one. What I can tell you is Mike Henry has religiously said that it needs to be a base from which you move cargo. Worse now with the highways running by it. You can do it as an air cargo base. Nobody can find anything better. It's big enough to take cargo planes, and with the highway coming across, you could start moving cargo between the docks and there back and forth. I think, what was the terminology they were using? Economic zones or whatever.
Right.
And I think at one stage he wanted to extend the railway out of Vernam Field.
So, oh, go ahead.
So I don't think they would have wanted it to be an American base because it would have stymied what they require it for as a cargo base. But the two can coexist. It's big enough. It's big enough. The other thing is they may be afraid of sovereignty. But let me get myself in trouble now. We have bent over United States needs and requests for so often that we shouldn't worry about sovereignty, because if we're going to lose it to the States, we'd lose it. We may have done so quietly, but we'd lose it long time. And the United States would love to have a base 90 miles from Cuba. And with sandwich Cuba, because soon their lease on Gitmo is going to be up.
And it will be a good idea for the Jamaican authorities to approach the American counterparts and say, hey, you already have this thing here, why don't you do it? Because as I said before, there's so much cocaine and ganja and weapons flowing between those waters.
You can go further. You can use part of Vernam as a Jamaican military base.
Is it
so
that big?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Do you have any how much acres of land is there?
I'm not certain, but I know that some very large capacity aircraft can land on. It's not a tinsel penny, sir. Tinsel penny drop of Vernam, you lose it.
Let me just say that several points. One is that Jamaica it's been established already beyond any shadow of a doubt that Jamaica is a transshipment point for drugs. All right. And the fact that they had this seizure today, and they had the other one over at Fleming, right? And they've had other seizures in and around Jamaica. That should have compelled the Prime Minister when he met with his American counterparts. Well, they're not even his counterparts. When he met with the American law enforcement officials, to make that argument that Mr. Finley Smith just made, which is to operate Vernam Field as a base, as a launching pad to deal with the drugs flowing from south on its way to the US. Now, regarding the ability to ask for things. Now, in my experience, especially my experience overseas, I've seen some countries, I mean, they really stand up, and I sat across the table from them, they really stand up to the US in terms of being forceful about the things that they need. For some reason, when I talk to people in Jamaica, it seems to me as if there is this
Hesitancy.
yeah, they're very, very hesitant to ask. It's almost like they ask, you know, and may I, they don't do things. And the way they ask for it, it's almost as if they're in an inferior position. I've seen countries far, you know, without the resources, the educationally, financially, and otherwise, as Jamaica. I've seen them stood up to America and said, no, this is what you're going to do in our country, right? And you're not going to do that, and you're not going to do that, and we'll agree to this, we'll agree to that. But for some reason, I don't know what it is, if they don't know that they can stand up and state their position in a forceful way. No, they have people in Southcom, right, out of Florida. Southcom has the ability to track through satellite the shipping lanes and the flight paths through the Caribbean. We have, the last time I checked, Jamaica has somebody sitting there. But what happened? That plane was able to still violate Jamaican airspace, and we don't hear anything about that man who sit there, what he was doing. We don't hear about what the military, what they were doing in terms of tracking this plane. We don't hear about civil aviation. So we can talk about it being established as a base, but then we also have to talk about trained personnel who will run that thing, because we can't run it as a joke. We can't run it as an embarrassment. So we're going to have, I mean, really dedicated, skilled people there with a clear mission in mind. And once you start doing that, then you put the word out there that Jamaica is no longer in the business of transshipping drugs, right? Once they know that the Americans are there, they're flying planes, they're intercepting, they're supplementing what's going on with the JCF and the JDF at sea. And they're also assisting with the customs people and the immigration people, right? So you do a holistic approach to it. I think that they would start seeing almost immediate results. Once you start choking off the flow of drugs coming into Jamaica, then there would be a corresponding choking off of weapons coming into Jamaica. And the Prime Minister made that argument when he met with law enforcement officials in Washington, D.C., because he said, look, it's no secret that Jamaica is a transshipment point. And he said, the way it works is drugs flow into America and guns flow out. And he said the guns that they're talking about in Jamaica, these high-powered rifles, they're coming from America, and they're coming for two purposes: to protect turf and to protect the transshipment of drugs. Now, in that statement, there are admissions. You know, there are lots of admissions. And I'm saying to myself, I wonder if he understood what he was saying to them, because they're sitting across the table, and I'm telling you, I know how they think, because I sat across the table and I thought like them, right? But I said, he doesn't understand. And therein again lies the problem. He doesn't understand diplomacy. He doesn't understand. He had no business going on that trip anyway, because, you know.
Give me a quick break. You know what just came to mind? Years ago, I was a manager in the operations section of Sierra, and something went wrong one night, and I jumped up to go around to the managing director to report what had gone wrong in the operations, and I was fuming. There was a man, if I ever have an office, if you come to it, you'll see a little picture of this man. Came from Hanover, former, now deceased, God rest his lovely soul, named Kermit Crombie. He shared an office with me and saw me getting up, storming out of the office, and he said, Bobby, spoke like a real Hanover drunk. That Bobby, where did your dad there go? I said, round to Mrs. Brown. So what you got there for? So I am going to explain to her all this damn nonsense that going on in operations. He said, then Bobby, who they in charge of operations? I said, me. So then why you they go around, they go report by yourself? Somebody went to the States and reported on themselves, and you don't understand it.
Yeah.
You said you admitted to presiding over a situation that I think you will recognize this type of language, Mr. Rattigan. It's untenable.
Mm-hmm.
You've just admitted that you don't have a grip,
Exactly.
which don't put you in a very good light.
And then Bobby,
You
just
don't have a grip, but
no,
don't say so.
no,
Tell
and
them
then
what you need.
and then I tell you what, Bobby, to make it even worse, right? And you'll understand this language to make it even to make your position not only untenable but implausible. What they did was him take a man with him where 9 out of 10 Jamaicans say we have no faith and confidence that this man can do the job, and the Americans know that. And you bring him there,
Yes.
and then you're telling the Americans, oh, you know what? You can trust this guy. Even though 9 out of 10 Jamaicans can't trust him to do the job, you can trust him to do the job. What kind of nonsense is that?
Which means that, let us say the Jamaicans are grossly misinformed. You have also just told the FBI that you don't give a damn what the most of Jamaicans are saying.
Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's an untenable position. I would have loved to have known if someone at the table had said, so he's a minister. No, he's not. He's a commissioner. Okay. So where's the minister?
Mm-hmm. No,
I would
Bobby,
have loved to have been on the wall.
Bobby, I tell you what, I tell you how that meeting would have gone, right? The whole setup. What would have happened is that the moment we hear that the Prime Minister is coming and he's coming with the police commissioner to talk about, law enforcement assistance, the analysts would have been working 24 hours a day to do a background on all of them. I'm sure it's done already. And they know exactly, they know from the moment that man was born until him comes in front of them. They know everything about him. All his do's and his don'ts. They know his financial situation, political situation, marital situation. They know everything about him, right?
Yeah.
So when him and they would know beforehand that, oh, the Minister of National Security is not coming. And the first question somebody would ask is why? And then they would do a background on him as well. And the WikiLeaks cables would come up and all of that stuff, all of those. And then what would happen? All of the agencies would funnel their information and say, this is what we have on all of these people. And then they would compile a folder on them. So before these people actually met with them, they would go through the folder and see exactly what's going on. So when they sit at the table, go ahead.
I'm going to tell you what I know even better than that. Because I have done a little bit of work in the area. Mannerisms. Every human being has a tell. And mannerisms and cliche phrases and everything would have been mapped out long time. So anytime they start speaking in the meeting and say certain phrases, they know where they're coming from. They map out these people like you're batting on a sticky wicket.
Look, once you're coming, they know why you're coming. They know what you're going to say before you say it. And they already know in their minds what they're going to say. Now, here's the key. The meeting is over. You walk out and all of them sit down inside it. Or them get together sometime later on and them start talking about you and say, you believe this guy come here and him come with this guy who the Jamaican people can't even trust or whatever, and he's coming here to ask us to trust this guy? Or do you believe the Prime Minister who's not the, unless he's now the crime minister, they'll say, well, why is he here? That's a first thing. They say, where is the Minister of National Security? Then they start talking about their findings on the Prime Minister and all that stuff. I mean, they say these people are a bunch of jokers. And I tell them all the time, look, when you're going to talk to the Americans, the Brits, and all of these people, I'm not going to charge you guys. You can come talk to me and just pick my brain, and I'll tell you how the whole thing is set up. I'll help you so that you can negotiate, you can collaborate, you can talk to these people in a manner that they will respect you, because I tell you what, there's no respect at that table. There's no respect at that table, right? So
Now,
you can
what I'll tell you better than what he doesn't understand is that, and I mean no disrespect, is that in the United States in particular, when you have certain discussions happening, sheriffs speak to sheriffs, councilmen speak to councilmen,
right.
mayors speak to mayors. If a mayor walks in and decides he wants to talk to the sheriff, he's stretching it a bit because the sheriff will feel that the mayor trying to intimidate him.
Exactly.
And the mayor is going, and if the governor get up and say, I would like to speak to one of the deputies, red flags go up all over the place. It's called undue influence.
Yeah, you talk to your counterparts. You talk to your counterparts.
Yes.
Yeah. You talk to your counterparts.
Yes.
So the question, gentlemen, must be asked. Is it that the Prime Minister of Jamaica has no more confidence in the Minister of National Security?
Well, that's why I call him the crime minister, because I said, no, he's the one speaking about crime. You don't hear the person whose portfolio, who has that portfolio and whose job it is to address those issues coming within the portfolio. You don't hear him talking much. You hear the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister is traveling and talking about this. The Prime Minister is talking about it in Jamaica. So then the question is, where is his space? Where is the Minister of National Security? Where does he reside in all of this? And
who
the answer
makes
is,
the policies?
And I am reliably informed that maybe come next year, there'll be a cabinet reshuffle.
There should be.
You only have one problem, sir. A card pack only having so many cards. Shuffling it, not adding or deleting. And I give you a soccer analogy. I play against you, and there will come a time I need to sub somebody. But how strong is my bench?
Yeah.
Because I dare you. Give me an alternative to the Minister of National Security as we speak. In the current crop, who will you pull?
Well, look, if you're looking for just somebody to be a placeholder and not causing a stir, I guess you can find people. But if you're looking for somebody who's going to be dynamic, who's going to shake things up, somebody who's going to be, as they say, effective and efficient, somebody who's gonna. I'll give you an example. The current minister of, they don't have a minister of national security in South Africa. I know which the police portfolio is. They have somebody called the minister, or the position called Minister of Police. Now that man, I met that man when he was when he first got the job as Commissioner of Police. Then he went on to become the Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries. And now he's the Minister of Police. Today, I call his personal assistant, who's a very dear friend of mine as well, because we're trying to get them involved with addressing some of the things going on in Jamaica, because the crime problems are similar. Yeah, and you know where that man was? This is the minister now, and remember, he's the Minister of Police for a population of about 55 million. That man was on the road conducting roadblock searches. And how do I know this? His personal assistant told me, she said, listen, Will, yeah, no problem. Because I was talking about a meeting with him, and they said, yeah, we can get a meeting done with him. But for right now, he's doing, he's out with the troops on the streets doing roadblocks.
And hold on for a minute again. If people who are listening to us and watching us think that Wilfred Radigan is lying, he's not. I was privy to that call. I was on a conference call with that person too.
There you go.
Leading from front.
Yeah, and then guess what? I called the person who's responsible for all criminal investigations in that country, who's also a dear friend of mine. He didn't answer. Then he wrote me back and he said, listen, I'm out with the minister conducting roadblock searches. I'll call you later.
Would you ever say that in Jamaica? Where the Minister of National Security... Hold on for me. Pardon me?
How are you going to get away from saying, I see papers. The minister. How is it a police?
You're breaking up, Sir Smith. Yeah, Sir Smith, we're not hearing it. You're breaking up. We're not hearing it. You're breaking up.
I'm saying, how is it? Could a police officer say, what can you do for yourself? If the minister is standing while he's
Right.
So
right. I want to second Jeffrey. And the other thing that I know about this, the other thing I know about this man, right? I know him fairly well. The other thing I know about him is that a lot of times when he's gonna do these roadblocks, they don't know he's coming. They don't know. They don't know. He just shows up, and it could be any province.
If I were given, but if I were given the crosses to bear, I would ask for one thing. I need a helicopter at my disposal. And I would have what I would call the commissioner's squad or the minister's squad. And you don't know, all of a sudden you see this chopper reach up over Westmoreland or something and put down at Grangeville or whatever. Who that? The minister come. And you park down in the, and I land. The officers can't take in another vehicle. The minister coming by helicopter with him. That reporter asked for last week. Where is it? Hands on.
Right.
Hands on.
But gentlemen,
I learned something as a young subaltern. People will never do what you expect, but they will do what you inspect.
Mm-hmm.
Let us go back to the whole idea of Vernam Field. Reasons being, Wilfred Radigan said something earlier on that, when you're going to speak to the Americans, you have to be, you must demand what you want. Don't ask, demand the damn thing. Hey, look here. You are having a drugs problem. I'm having a drugs problem and a gun problem. You have an old military base down there. Why can't you just develop the damn thing? Refurbish it or refurbish. Put some Black Hawk helicopters down there and help to fight crime. Now, if the Commissioner of Police, along with the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security, had sit down and listen to people, listen to Jamaicans who have knowledge of security. The Minister of National Security has knowledge of security. He has knowledge of medicine. The Prime Minister have knowledge of security. We have knowledge of, and I think we have a degree. Let's not get into that. The Commissioner of Police, who is a former JDF chief, have knowledge of security, yes, but they need expert. You have Wilfred Rattigan, you have Robert Finley Smith. Why couldn't they call on you all and say, listen to me, what do you think? What should we do? What should we go and say to the Americans? Now, Finley, what I said to them, say, listen to me, man. When I have Vernam Field down there having drag race, why don't you all develop Vernam Field to become a military hub where, you can turn up a helicopter in the air, it go right over Haiti, Cuba, wherever.
Drones.
And drones to intercept these boats and these, because when I was speaking to the former advisor to the Prime Minister of Haiti, the former Prime Minister of Haiti, he said to me that he can jump into a boat and in no time he's in Port Antonio having a red stripe bear.
Yes.
So the problem that we face in Jamaica, Finley Smith and Wilfred Rattigan, is proper leadership. We're a lack of leadership in our country. Because if you have a Prime Minister who is fighting crime and not asking questions, Jamaicans in the diaspora who have knowledge of crime fighting, they're not asking them, do they really want to solve crime in Jamaica, Finley Smith?
No, here is what you see, again, it come back to wanting to look for complex solutions. Here's a simple situation. If you have Vernam Field, all right, let me share the question before I give the answer. Outside of the Westmoreland, St. James, where are the highest crime figures as we speak?
St.
Clarendon.
Catherine. St. Catherine,
Clarendon.
Mhm.
Yes,
Where is Vernam Field?
in
Clarendon.
Clarendon.
I don't talk.
Mhm.
It don't take a genius. My other problem is liars figure, but figures don't lie. The current minister, I don't know if he said it and he was misreported, or he actually said it but he had said at one stage that there were approximately 200 illegal weapons coming in every month.
He did say that.
He
He did say that.
So now let us just say for a year, this is true. That is 200 weapons times 12. No, I wasn't a great mathematician at KC. I spent my time in the back of the class. I write songs. But they also said that there are an average of 300 violence producers in the island.
Mm-hmm.
With the amount of guns that are claimed to be landed here, how many guns per violence producer does that give?
There's 4.
You understand what I'm trying to point out to you?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody have them figures wrong, one way or the other. So now, where are these weapons? There must be somewhere that they can be easily retrieved. Go to any American law enforcement or military base, and they will give you equipment that will allow you to detect weapons that are hidden by virtue of radar or whatever. Have we asked for that?
You know, I am happy you touch on that point. Former Jamaican ambassador to the United Nations, Sir Curtis Ward, at one point said on my program, Let's Make We Talk program, that I don't remember if it's he who told them about a piece of equipment that he can put at the airport and also at the port. In other words, the port authority or wherever they have cargoes coming in. At that time, it was about 19 million US for it. All right. And nobody pay him or the person any mind pertaining to it. So the question to be asked also is, are they checking these containers coming into the port? And that is why.
Or with what? I'm certain they are, but with what frequency or efficiency? That's what you must ask.
And that is why you said that Vernam Field could be developed into a cargo area, a military area for the JDF and for the American government. Because it is so big, they can do it. So you know, go ahead.
You can land cargo there for pre-screening and send the tractor heads up there to pick them up when they've been screened. With the new highway going into Mandeville, I can work in downtown Kingston and be in Williamsfield in Mandeville in less than 45 minutes once the new extension has been completed. They have a saying that the road to development is the development of roads. We lack the mobility combined with the nimbleness of mind. So we react rather than I have a little company that does VIP security and consultancy. And my motto says prevention, not cure. A lot of time running down cure everything. I want to prevent it. So what can we do to prevent it? What can we do to make ourselves a hard target? And if you need help, ask for it in a tangible way. It's as simple as that. That is my thought process. I said something earlier, I say it again. The current commissioner of police was the National Security Advisor. Once he became the commissioner of police, that post became empty. A great deal of arguments were put forward to justify that post. He's no longer in it. What does it mean? It's not justifiable anymore.
Or the question should be asked, the commissioner of police is being paid how much $1 million? Is it that he's the commissioner of police and also the security advisor to the prime minister?
I don't know. No one has informed me as to
Federal
what
again?
that.
No, you know what? Here's the thing. Back in 2016, when they start to really formulate and start to advertise Plan Secure Jamaica, they mentioned that they will be creating this position of National Security Advisor, which they did in 2017. So you have to ask yourself, and this is one of the questions I'd love to ask the Prime Minister, if it was important for you and for the nation to develop that position in 2017, are you saying that it's not important now to fill the position now that you've moved that person into another position? Because the argument he made at that time was that he was saying that the developing and developed nations, they all have a national security advisor for obvious reasons. And then he said that he was going to make the national security advisor would be responsible for collaborating, coordinating all efforts, having to do with all agencies, because he was trying to use the concept developed by the Americans called the whole of government approach. So it wasn't just the police alone. It's a military, it's customs, it's this, it's that, it's that. And so the fittest person to have been police commissioner in the history of Jamaica, I believe, is the present commissioner, because he had that job of sitting at the 30,000 foot level to oversee everything that was going on in the country. And here it is now, the man is a colossal failure. And his position, the position that he vacated, has not been occupied since, right? At least not officially. So then you start asking yourself, are these people just copying stuff that they see in other parts of the world? Or are they trying to do things to fit the Jamaican experience? And that's one of the problems I have with Jamaica. They tend to look across the globe and they copy stuff. And then they bring it in and just try to give it to the people wholesale. And they don't realize that what you're copying may work for that country in those circumstances, but not for Jamaica, because Jamaica is unique. And so you may have to do some trimming, you may have to do some tailoring, you may have to do something to fit whatever it is that you're importing into the country so that it can be successful in Jamaica. And they haven't done that. They haven't done that. And if you read, I tell you what, I have it right here. I'll tell you 1 second, Bobby, I'll tell you what. I have something here called the National Security Policy for Jamaica, right? It's over 100 pages.
I have a copy.
Okay. And when you read this thing about how they've identified the problems and what they're going to do about the problems, Jamaica shouldn't have a problem, because this thing, I think, was published in 2014 or 2014. Jamaica shouldn't have a problem if they start using this. Shouldn't. That's the roadmap to success. But here it is. We have all kinds of problems. So, which leads me to say this, and then I'll shut up. What we have in Jamaica presently, we don't have leaders. We have so-called managers, and they're failing miserably at their jobs. We don't have leaders. We don't have people with foresight. You even mentioned something about being reactive versus proactive. And it's so true that Jamaica, at least in the law enforcement sphere, they sit around and they wait for something to happen and then they respond. I don't see a lot of proactivity, and definitely, I don't see anything regarding predictive policing, where like a friend of mine who was a deputy chief of police in Jackson, Mississippi, he could tell me, because I was a number 2 guy in the FBI office in Jackson, and he and we would sat down and I was in charge of intelligence and counterintelligence, and so he and I would sit down and we would talk, and he could tell me that next week Friday, if we don't move, 3 people will die at this location, based on data, based on source information and other things. He could tell you. That's predictive policing. So he said, okay, we have the information. So now we're going to mobilize our troops and we're going to put them out there to prevent people from dying. And that's what he did. That's predictive policing. Jamaica don't have that. And it's not that Jamaica cannot have it. It's just that we don't have the people to implement it. The leaders, we don't have the leaders. So
let me help you out. The University of Technology, which is supposed to be the national university, the School of Architecture came up with a program that could identify hotspots based on historical data and predictive analysis. And they could tell you where crime was going to take place, down to the point where they could almost tell you what kind of crime was going to take place. And when they started to indicate to the government that they need to look at this and they need some money to flesh it out and get the computers and this, I don't know if they were ever answered. But my mama didn't raise enough food. So I asked for a single page bullet point as to how it worked. We used to have a problem on campus where they was breaking into cars. Do you know there is a program, they use it in police departments in the States. It was created by a Jamaican called Informant. Rather than write down entries in diaries and things, you have a computer program where you input the data and which officer is dealing with it and where it happened and this. And part of the program correlates in the computer and finds similar situations and cross-references it. So you can go, okay. So in our big booking station anymore where pretty handwriting or no handwriting goes. It's there. I used it and discovered that on a Wednesday evening, after 2:30, in a certain car park, they were going to break into cars that were in the middle of the parking lot. So I set up a covert camera and I watched. And when the guy wrapped the ice pick in the handkerchief and clapped the rear mirror windscreen thing, by the time him hand reached in to pull the lock, we were standing behind him. And he couldn't figure out how we knew. But better than that, the campus was locked down in 20 seconds. So the car that bring him come couldn't leave. Like a university, we do that. We introduced it and tried to say to the police force, you want a look? They've never called me. Never.
Well,
And
It's like if you thief a laptop from somebody and that report comes in, it starts correlating where else a laptop was stolen and under what circumstances.
no,
Where
keep
that's
in mind.
available.
Keep in mind that you said that was a little university and it was the architecture department, right? And if they can do that, yeah, and they did that, right? And the police or the Ministry of National Security, they showed no interest. Well, let me tell you something else. I sat down with the Prime Minister, I think it was 2018, at Vale Royal for 2.5 hours.
you mean Prime Minister Andrew Holness?
Yes. And we're talking about, and it was a group of diaspora people. I think there were 4 of us. And we were talking to him about intelligence gathering, the intelligence cycle, and using technology to fight crime. And we're talking about license plate readers. And then he started telling me that, oh yeah, you know, we have the license plate readers and we have them up on the traffic lights. And I started to explain to him that, listen, that's not the best use of license plate readers. That's not the best use. And I even brought the pioneer, one of them with license plate readers. I brought him to Jamaica to explain to them how to use license plate readers. And you know what them say? We invited the police and we invited private industry. And them say, nah, man, we know about them things, man. Yeah, man, everything under control. You know, we know about them things. I don't know, problem. We brought it in as a piece, as a part of a cyber presentation. And them so interested in it. Now, this same pioneer, I worked with them when I was in New York. And when I moved to Mississippi, I brought them to Mississippi. And what these guys did, exactly what you're talking about, they developed cases for the police departments in Mississippi without coming to Mississippi. They just looked at data. And they brought a whole bunch of a stack of files. I said, all right, they said, Jackson Police Department, you have 10 cases you can look at. Flowood, you have 20 cases you can look at. Madison, you have 30 cases you can look at. And guys are going, how the hell did they know all of this stuff? Right? And we brought that to Jamaica. And them said, no, we know about them things, man. Everything under control. So,
Have you ever tried to introduce them to profiling?
I beg your pardon?
Have you ever tried to introduce them to profiling?
No, we didn't do profiling. We did some cyber stuff and we did license plate readers and some of that thing, shot spotters and some of that.
We told them, say, come to the university and get some scholarships and teach some people how to profile. We at University of Technology, Safety and Security Park got the job to redo the security service setup at St. Augustine, Trinidad. And we got a backhand compliment when contract. We beat Scotland Yard to get it. And the guy said, you know why you boys getting it? I said, because we know him said, no, only boy, you come from Jamaica, ain't nobody no crime like you. And it was a backhanded compliment. We set up a situation down there where when you enter the campus, the camera pick you up, and if we choose to, we send the data to all the other cameras, and they start looking for you, and every camera you cross report, so we can follow where you went throughout the campus. I did some national security advice for a little place called Anguilla, British Protectorate. The total population cannot full our stadium. But I carried to the police there. I said, all of these cell towers you have, put a repeater on them for cameras. Put laptops in your patrol cars. Pick up Wi-Fi signals from cameras around the island. Anytime somebody give you a report, you bring up that camera before you reach so you can see what's happening. You don't have to ask for no witness. You're watching it unfold. I came home and showed my countrymen that idea. Still waiting for a response. I went further. I said to them, why don't you write into your telecommunication profile that if you want to provide telecommunications in Jamaica, you have to give us space on your towers because the towers already set up for transmission and power and everything. We could stop Radio Last in its tracks with that type of thing. Nobody said a word. So I got to the point where somebody called me one day and said, the thing on the other side, so they're not going to listen to you. You must be good. They say they think I belong to the other side, so they're not going to listen to me.
You see that nonsense? Right. You see the nonsense?
Right.
So I say, I am chairman of an organization called GOMEX. It's a cyber security institute. We also write programs and exams and things and lectures for heart. We have trained people in the police force. We have trained people in the military. Years ago, we told the government they were being hacked. And they laughed at us and then brought down people from wherever and paid them millions of dollars to tell them what we told them.
That's how Jamaica is, brother. That's how it is, you know, because look, here's something else. I said to them, listen, I said, I was born and spent my formative years in Jamaica. And I said, Jamaica gave me the fundamentals. It gave me the background to develop my skills and be who I am, right? I said, what I'd like to do is I'd like to come back. And because I said, there's a lot up here. There's a lot up here. Not just smarts, but experience and contacts. And I said, look, I'd like to come back and give it for free. For free. I said, I'd come back and give it for free. Them said, no, sir, we don't want it.
No, you don't know what you did. If you're doing it for free, where them finder's fee coming from?
Oh, them get the finder's fee. Right. See, it's all about that.
There's no finder's fee for them.
Right.
Yeah,
But see, I wasn't even thinking like that. You say, I wasn't even thinking like that. I was thinking about when they were mapping the diaspora for people to come home and help build Jamaica in light of Vision 2030. This happened back in 2010, 2011, 2012, right? And I said, okay, I'll come back and I'll do this for free. No charge. Because I said, it's such a shame. I have so much here to give. And I said, it's not just me. I'm just one of
Jamaicans feel that it's free, it's not good.
Right. But even when we decide to even charge them, you know, them say, boy, you're too expensive. And then them turn around and pay some people who don't look like me or you, come from a different part of the world, and them come down there and them give them less than where we are going to give them for free.
Gentlemen, I bet you any money.
Let me get myself in serious trouble. Because Caucasian value has an appreciable benefit to some people. It's as simple as that.
Gentlemen, it is, wherever you're watching and listening from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean, this is Make We Talk. We're speaking about, can Vernam Field be used as a military base to fight crime in the Caribbean by the Americans? The American government owned Vernam Field. Based on what I've read on Google, I'm yet to be corrected by the Port Authority of Jamaica.
But even if they don't,
own it,
don't make it available to them.
Even if they don't own it, the government of Jamaica should approach the American government and say to them, listen, we need XQYZ. Gentlemen, we're here talking about this and talking about that. And it is clear as day that the political parties in Jamaica do not want to fight crime. It is clear as day. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know, but based on what Wilfred Rattigan is saying and based on what you, Robert Finder-Smith, is saying, that you have approached them with so many ideas and so many things that work at the University of the West Indies campus, that work at
University of Technology.
University of Technology that works at
I wrote the plan for University of West Indies, but University of Technology.
And also that it works in Trinidad and Tobago University campus. But what they prefer to do is to travel from Jamaica to Israel to ask for help from Israel and spend millions of dollars of taxpayers' money.
If that is the case, some of my early training was by people from that region.
But if it, gentlemen, I know Wilfred Rattigan have to go.
Yeah, and I forget some.
So we're gonna say good night for now. But your final word pertaining to Vernam Field. Should Vernam Field be used? Should the Jamaican government ask the American government to spend some money in refurbishing Vernam Field, along with the Jamaican government, spending some money also, as what Mr. Finsey Smith said, that Vernam Field is a good idea, a good area to have cargoes and everything. So do you think that they should spend some money? They should approach the American government in getting Vernam Field up and going with for that again?
Yes, I think they should. But the only problem is that who will be the messengers? And therein lies the problem, because they've proven time and again that they don't know what they're doing. And so when they go to sit with the Americans, how do they package it in a way that the American government will find it attractive to do what they're asking to do? Because I can tell you one thing: the American government will probably not get in bed with the present leadership for lots of reasons. For lots of reasons, they probably won't get in bed with them regarding this. And if you notice too that a lot of the donor agencies now, they're exerting more oversight over funds that they provide to Jamaica and how it's being used, because Jamaica has developed this bad reputation of misdirecting funds. So I just don't think, I think a different set of people with a different mindset, I think they would have to sit down with the American government and talk about it, but not this particular group that's in charge right now.
So Robert,
unfortunate. I hear what he's saying and I know why he's saying it. It's unfortunate. Decades ago, when I was a subaltern, I attended a conference. And you know what conferences, they go around the room and you stand up and call out your name and where you're from. So at the time I got up and said, Lieutenant Finsey Smith, Jamaica. And the American colonel who was in charge in the region at the time said, Jamaica, you got a very interesting country. Yes, sir. Says, yeah,
you have a very interesting what? Let me hear you. You have a very interesting what?
You have a very interesting country there, son. So I said, really, son? How so? So, well, you got a political party. And from time to time, we find a criminal in it. Then you have a criminal enterprise. And from time to time, we find a politician in it.
There you go.
And then then those days you didn't have PowerPoint, but then he started to show slides. I won't go much further, but some are still around. Unfortunate, but some are still around. We must understand that whilst the United States and Britain are no angels themselves, they're very careful of the devils they cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
And they have cultivated devils in the past. Let's get that straight. But we have in the past, in people who were saying that they were supporting the USA, have misled them in the past. One nation leader was referred to as a conman of the Caribbean. And we need to remember.
And who is that leader, may I ask?
Let me continue. But we must remember that people who forget the lessons of history are doomed to repeat. And we are on the verge of the second time around. There comes a time in the affairs of men, if take not the flood, can lead on to greater things. A crisis is a hell of a thing to waste. I can see a military base, both American and Jamaican, sitting at Vernam Field with all the attendant spill-offs of housing in the area, money being spent in the area by the servicemen, flights coming and going. It's it boggles my mind as to the possibilities. We can set up transshipment there for legal goods because they will be under proper supervision. The World Cup's finished with them build stadiums out of containers. We can use container buildings and set up bases which you have churches, FBI, everything. And once you have a setup like that, America is far able to come here and they are restricted to Hope Road and the embassy. That they're in a position to spread out and apply some, I won't say influence, but some assistance where it's needed. And if I were somebody with a go fast boat coming out of Colombia, knowing that such a base existed where Vernam Field is, I would have tried to stay out of Jamaican waters.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about, that deterrence. Exactly.
And I leave you with this. Would bring, and so I did say anything, but so he didn't permit me. Some years ago, the Venezuelan army changed out all its weapons. And nobody don't know where them there.
Is it an eye opener?
I leave you with that. Yeah.
Finzi Smith, Security Lieutenant Robert Finzi Smith.
Well, actually, I'm still in the cadet corps here as a training officer. It says major.
Oh, Major Robert.
But I don't live on it. You have some people who don't talk to you unless you use the rank. I don't live on it.
Okay. Major Lieutenant Finzi Smith. Make a defense.
No, not that yet. That's major.
Well, you know, gentlemen, I'll let you go, Wilfred Rattigan, but you know something? And we must continue asking this question. Does the authorities in Jamaica really want to fight crime in Jamaica? Every time I come on my program, I bring on people who have wealth of knowledge when it comes on to security, who are born Jamaicans, who live in Jamaica, who live outside of Jamaica. So we must ask the question of the powers may be from the two political parties. Do they really want to fight crime in Jamaica? Until you hear my voice again, thank you, Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent. Robert Finzi Smith.
Sir.
Major.
Major, security consultant. A wealth of knowledge. He believed that Vernam Field should be used as a military base by the Jamaicans and the American government to fight crime within the Caribbean. Thank you for coming on to Make We Talk, sir.
You're most welcome, sir.
Take care so much. Take care, Bobby. All right.
Until you hear my voice again, I'm Jeffrey Tavares saying to you all, like, share, and subscribe. May God bless you. May God bless Jamaica land we love. Next week, Tuesday, I will be having ambassador to Interpol, ambassador to South Africa, rather.
Interpol ambassador to South Africa.
Yeah, Interpol ambassador to South Africa. Interpol ambassador to South Africa. He will be on my program next week, Tuesday, from 10 until 12 o'clock, speaking about how they can assist Jamaica in fighting Jamaica's crime pandemic. You'll be having Wilfred Rattigan, also Herbert Nelson Jr. and Herb Nelson Jr. And I'm pretty much sure that our good friend Sir Francis Smith will be on also. So we're going to have a range of people speaking about how they can solve crime in Jamaica, because South Africa have the same crime problem we have in Jamaica. So we're going to see.
I have links.
I'm not hearing you.
I was on the security committee of CONCACAF.
You were?
And yes, sir. And I am the sole point, I call it the SPOC, the sole point of contact security-wise for CONCACAF and FIFA for football in Jamaica. But we did anti-match fixing and thing. I still have my Charles.
Okay.
We have that.
All right. We talk, Jeffrey.
Thank you all for coming on. Until we hear my voice again, may God bless you. May God bless our beautiful island, Jamaica land we love. Like, share, and subscribe. Will Smith. Robert Smith. Will Rottigan, rather. Robert Smith. Thank you all very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bless them.
Bye-bye.
All right.